But if we're talking about drafting a weapon for Kirk Cousins versus an offensive lineman who is 10 more spots down on your big board, then you take the weapon because that weapon's going to have a bigger impact right away than your left guard, the difference between taking him in the first or taking the best left guard in the second. It could be a huge difference. You think about how many times last year Kirk Cousins went first read to Laquan Treadwell and how poorly that went for him. I can put a number on it if you give me a second. Just how badly Kirk Cousins performed throwing to Laquan Treadwell versus Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen. Like, them not addressing the wide receiver number 3 spot in free agency, I think was a big mistake. But if they address it here, then we've seen plenty of rookie wide receivers or tight ends.
But that guy's
right
not,
away
not there according to you, correct?
Well,
there's not the ability to address it. So we're talking about pie in the sky here.
See, I'm really interested in potentially Hollywood Brown, but I don't know where they have him.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know. His name is Marquise Brown, but I love calling him Hollywood.
Ramie, what do you think?
That's a great name.
Okay, take him first round.
Great name.
Trade up to get him.
I've got the number. So when Kirk Cousins was throwing at Laquan Treadwell last year, he had an 80.3 quarterback rating. When he was throwing at Adam Thielen, it was 115, and Stephon Diggs 107.
And Treadwell's drops were how numerous?
So he had 5 drops on only 47 targets, which is a ton.
Like more than
but that's a lot, and 2 interceptions went his way as well. So you're talking about Kirk Cousins going from an elite quarterback when throwing at those 2 wide receivers to backup at best. If you have an 80 quarterback rating, you're like not in the league or only there because you're Sean Hill and you're old and they like you. That's my point about how desperately you need another weapon.
I get your point, but if that guy, so that guy's either going to be there in the form of a tight end potentially. It sounds like he's not going to be there in the form most likely of a receiver. So, but this also comes back to why Kubiak is so important, because they're putting all of their eggs in that basket that he can find a way to make this work, which, by the way, might include Treadwell pretty much not playing.
That's what I was just going to say. We've talked about how scheme and play calling can prop guys up, put them in a better position to succeed. And I know I'm being simple about this. It's a lot easier said than done. But one thing you could do is not make Laquan Treadwell the first read very often. That's one. I mean, if Kirk Cousins is always going to go to the first read.
How are you going to replace that, though?
Well, that's what I would say is then who is on this roster? I mean, is it Chad Beebe, a guy who is undrafted and played 1.5 games?
It actually might have to be, but at this rate.
Chad Beebe, as much as I like him and it's a good story, I don't think he stays healthy in the NFL. That he couldn't stay healthy in college and he got hurt immediately in the NFL. Aldrick Robinson could be a guy you re-sign, but we saw how that works out as he's just a deep threat. Who else? Who's your wide receiver that you're throwing to?
I am more comfortable, and I don't love it, but I'm more comfortable with the prospect of taking a tight end in the first round than a cornerback.
Okay, that's fine. Tight end
I'm more comfortable with that, and if you can deploy both your tight ends and basically have the tight end be wide receiver 3, essentially, at least I can see that.
I wouldn't hate
that. But this again comes back to what I said about Kubiak, which is Gary Kubiak's the most important person in that draft room. Tell me what you think is going to work.
If they take a non-offensive lineman at 18, which they may be in a situation where that may have to happen, do they have the draft capital to get back into like the end of the first round?
Not really. No. I mean, they don't have a 5th. They only have 1/3, 1/4. So probably not. You know, the way that I look at this is always through the lens of points. You would try to do it the same way in baseball with analytics and look at stuff and how many runs things are worth. And my question is, if you're at 18 and you're thinking about a tight end like Noah Fant, a wide receiver like Marquise Brown or A.J. Brown is good too, or DK Metcalf could drop. To me, he's pretty risky. But let's just say a wide receiver or tight end at 18. How many point difference is a left guard worth who's going to be an upgrade? This is assuming that the top guys are off the board. From Tom Compton, how many points is that worth versus how many points a wide receiver who doesn't drop those 5 balls and who is open and who can run after the catch? Yards per catch for Laquan Treadwell was 8.6. That's like a fullback. I mean, it's really that bad.
Well, he can't run.
Exactly.
I mean, we know that.
And they can't throw it down the field to him. So if you're just giving me any sort of semblance of talent for that position to give me 40 catches that are worth 11 yards apiece, I mean, that's a lot of points there compared to what you had before. And assuming that Thielen and Diggs are as good, if Thielen or Diggs gets hurt, who's playing wide receiver for you? I mean, this is a big problem. Diggs has gotten hurt before. He didn't last year. Thielen has had an incredible record of health, but if he goes down down for 5 games, who's playing there?
And Judd, he can't run, but he's a natural hands catcher. Don't you forget that, all right?
He had a great year last year, according to him, too.
Natural hands catcher.